All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Connect and Collaborate White Sand Self-Care, where we focus on providing resources, education, and connection to a whole host of professionals to support you in your self-care journey. Laurie and I are just kind of giggling here. We got on early just in time. She's dealing with heavy winds. I got heavy winds and rain. So we're hoping to pull this off without a snag. But I've known Laurie for about 3 years. Laurie Kroeger was born and raised in the beautiful state of Colorado. She loves the mountains, and climbing them is a magnificent metaphor for her life story. Having lived an entire lifetime before she was legally able to drink, the shame and insignificance that she felt in her life just drove her to making many poor decisions that she never thought she would forgive herself for. Laurie loves to camp, hang out on the water in her kayak, and spend time with friends and family. She has spent the past 20 years learning about personal growth and responsibility, starting with programs such as the Landmark Forum and Via De Cristo. In 2020, she became a certified John C Maxwell leadership trainer, speaker, and life coach. Loving and understanding the stories of people's lives, she embraces her role as a life coach to help others break free from their past mistakes and move forward into their unlimited potential. So I am so happy to have Laurie here.
Thank you.
That is quite the background. So maybe you can share with everybody, I guess a little bit, because obviously you like you said, you lived a lifetime before you're 21, and maybe you can shed a little bit more light on some people of what some of that was and what led you into being a life coach.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. I love being here. And so I was married at 16. I ran away from home and spent like 4 days with my boyfriend at the time. We dyed my hair, went out and did some fun things, checked out Mardi Gras. I was in Alabama. So we drove across state lines, and my dad said that, you can come home or I will press charges, because he was 3 years older than me. And so at that point, we decided that I wasn't okay with that. I had two options. So we decided to get married. I had my daughter at 18, and being as young as we were and as clueless as I ran away from my own husband, and we were divorced by 20.
Oh, wow.
And it was absolutely nothing because of him. It really was just because we were too young and I had no idea what I was doing. But in the process, I also had taken my daughter with me. And so after about a year and a half of bouncing around from one place to another and not really having a solid, stable job, he did. He offered to take my daughter. And so I did. I sent her home to live with her dad. It was a much more stable environment for her. And I gave up custody. And that was the catalyst to the rest of my really bad decisions.
Yeah, that had to be that had to be extremely tough.
It was. And, we all have a lot of dreams for our kids, and we plan out this perfect life and everything that we want them to have. And when it doesn't work out the way we plan, we get really, really hard on ourselves. And we start blaming ourselves. We start blaming others. There's a lot of shame involved. The shame that I would throw was, it just wasn't good. We're just going to go there. If you want to know more about it, you can read the book.
Yep. That's true. You do have a book coming out.
I do.
Yeah.
So I did just finish the book called Loving You is Easy, Loving Me is Hard. And it talks a lot about, we hear that you cannot love others more than you love yourself. And I disagreed with that most of my life. I'm like, oh no, I love everybody by far more than I love me. I am not lovable. I am not okay. I am not enough. And so everything I did was to prove my worth through loving others. And the fact really is that you cannot give others that kind of love if it's not inside of you. So it is there. You just need to show it to yourself. And so it really talks about the path from the pain and despair, the the really, really lows that I had, including using sex and drugs and other things as my coping mechanisms, in learning how to take personal responsibility and become the successful, loving person that I am today.
And that she is. So I've known her for about 3 years, and that is, you've obviously come a long way, because I would have never even known. And most people don't. I think most people either hide it so well, or at least they've progressed and they've really changed their life and made a difference. I think you kind of fit in one category or another. Either you're hiding it, or you've really learned to turn your life around. And I think that is fantastic.
Well, and what I've noticed is a lot of people are really, really good at hiding it until they're not. And that's when the depression sets in, the anxiety sets in, the anger that they end up taking out on other people. It just, when you are unhappy with exactly where you are, that's what you tend to do. It shows up in other ways, whether you get physically ill, whether you get angry, bitter, frustrated, just hiding it. Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes hiding it well isn't really what happens. It's not what it appears.
No. And did you find, when you were, going through all that, did you find yourself kind of, like you said, if you're still kind of hiding it, wind up attracting kind of the same situations?
You do. You really do.
Change. Yeah.
And the law of attraction is real. What you put out in this world is what you're going to get back. And the more I focused on all of the things that I did wrong, the more I did things wrong.
Right.
And it really wasn't until I started living my life with integrity that my world started changing almost immediately. And when I talk about integrity, I love Brene Brown's definition. And you'll find a lot of Brene Brown in my book, because she has been a huge inspiration for me. But her definition is choosing courage over comfort, and choosing to do what is right over what is fast, fun, or easy. And that really makes a difference when you're making decisions on a daily basis. Am I doing what's easy, or am I doing what's right?
Right.
And sometimes working through conflict, personal conflict, relational conflict, business conflict, it all depends on that integrity.
It does. And it's a hard thing. I know for myself, I've never been one about, conflicts and stuff. I was always just like, okay, let's just cut ties, move on, start over. But at some point you got to stand up and put your big girl pants on and say, nope, you got to take care of this.
Yep, it is. And, our personalities are always going to be different. Different people perceive things differently. Mm-hmm. And our communication makes a really big difference in that.
Yeah, it's another reason why I say that we're called individuals for a reason. We don't see if we all saw everything, treated everything the same, I think the world would be extremely boring. But, it's that different in the variety or the spice of life of different people that keeps it interesting.
It does. It really does. And when we learn how to communicate with those different personality styles, it makes a difference. So
yeah. Yep.
Being a
certified John another perfect
leadership, I'm also a DISC consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned to see and understand a lot of those different personality types, and focusing on those do's and don'ts in communicating.
Yeah, that's a whole nother realm there. But yeah, and you're like the perfect example that neither your past nor what people portrayed you as defines who you are or who you can be. I mean, you just have to dig within yourself and figure out who you are, who you were meant to be, and stick with it.
And that was hard.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. That's why when I wrote the book, Loving You is Easy, Loving Me is Hard, it really made me focus on what was important to me and why those things were important to me. We've got a visitor.
They seem to be drawn to Zooms, don't they?
They do. But, understanding my values and really being able to learn about who I was, because I was everything to everybody all the time. And if my mom said sit and my dad said jump, I'll be damned if I didn't figure out how to do them both.
Yeah. And that is exhausting. It's not very healthy and it's exhausting.
And so learning to be exactly who I wanted to be was a challenge. I tried lots of different things in my world and I'd hang out with different groups of people, or I'd try to fit in with this group, or I'd try to fit in with that group. And the thing is, I was always fake. Like, I tried a lot of new things. It was great, but I was fake and people could tell.
Yeah.
And then the shame, the blame, the regrets, the depression, the anxiety, all of those things just kept coming back up, and I would creep back into a hole. And so learning who I was really important.
And it gained you a lot of experience and a lot of perspective on where you can at least, empathize or have some semblance or understanding of people that are also going through those same kind of struggles, or maybe they're finding themselves in that place right now.
It is.
Yeah. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. So your book is available now?
It is. It is available on Amazon, or you can get an autographed copy by going to lovingmeishard.com. And if you want a dedication in there, you can put in a request for a dedication for a specific person. My goal is to touch the lives of at least 1 million people. And from the reviews that I've had from those people who have read it, it's been a really good launching point for them in learning to get into their own journey, and learning how to love themselves because of their mistakes instead of in spite of them.
Yeah, that is very well put. I like how you put that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very well put. And so you also do coaching, right?
I do.
So do you have programs or stuff out there, or how should people contact you, or what do you have available for people besides the book?
I do a minimum of 3 months coaching. Usually it takes a good 6 months to really start seeing progress, but building trust and really getting to that key relationship piece for coaching generally takes that first 3 months. And then they decide whether or not they want to venture forward. And so they can visit that information at visiblepotential.com, because seeing people's potential is my superpower. And being able to hold that space for them and believe in them until they believe in themselves is what I love to do. And my coaching clients, they're part of my family. And I love everybody that I work with. So I only take on 15 coaching clients a year, because loving a lot of people is hard.
Yeah, still gotta make sure you're filling your own cup,
Exactly. And I do. When I take on a coaching client, they do become part of my family. They're part of my friends. They're, some of them will go on their own eventually, but it's really just being there and loving them through the hard times, accepting them where they are right now, who they are right now. It doesn't matter where they've been. It just matters where they're going.
Yeah, having that, accountability and support and without judgment, I think is huge in any kind of, coaching, self-care, or, especially the non-judgment. I think people are too used to being judged, and there is no judgment. There's no right or wrong. We just need to help them figure out their way in the best way that works for them, because what works for me may not work for you.
Yep. I use a 3-step program to do that. We focus on decluttering. We get rid of some of that perceived perfection that people are trying to accomplish, and then help to gain that clarity through decluttering. And once we finish decluttering, we design a path forward, and really looking at what's important to them. What's that next step? What's the very next step? And then we give them tools to help them develop. So we declutter, design, and develop your future.
That is awesome. Yep. Wonderful. So, and
I
will make sure.
So if you go to Visible Potential, don't get confused. Because I do leadership training, communication training. I am certified in all of the John Maxwell stuff. So right on the front page, you're going to get all the business stuff. But if you click on the little link that says coaching, it'll give you all the details in the coaching section. But I don't highlight that again because I do only take on 15 clients a year. And I have, I've got a couple spaces open. So.
Well, that is wonderful. And we'll make sure that both those links and everything, so everyone that's watching can have the way to connect with you or get the book. I look forward to getting my copy because I know I pre-ordered it a while ago. So I'm excited about getting that as well.
It's exciting. Let me tell you, getting the editing done was a longer process than I anticipated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into those. I don't think people realize how long that actually takes to put that together and, and to get it right,
Yep. And you want to make sure it's right. And, I tend to like to take shortcuts. So I skip pieces that I don't think are important. And then you have to go back. So don't do that. Just follow the process.
Follow the process. Yeah. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you got it done. I'm sure it's a sense of accomplishment and pride that it's done. And I'm sure it's going to touch many lives.
I hope so. That's if I can change at least one life. Okay. Well, I've succeeded there. I've heard that much, but just really helping people to not feel alone and that they have an opportunity to make a difference is what's important. So.
Yeah. And I think with everything we've gone through in today's world, I mean, it's always been there, but it seems like sometimes the world's getting even crazier, instead of subtle. And I think people need that kind of support, and it's important.
It is.
So, well, thank you, Laurie. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm glad our weather held out.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So
I love catching up on all of your videos. Like the information that I've gained just in watching these has been astronomical. So I really appreciate you putting these together because they're amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. The whole thing, is people need to know that they're not alone. We all have different problems, different areas. There's so many different realms of self-care. And I know you're in Colorado still, but I believe you work with clients out of state as well, or all around the world, or however you need to do them. So yeah, that's what, people sometimes just want to stay in that little box and figure, well, no, I have to go here locally, but you never know. You may resonate and connect with someone, out of state, somewhere else that can really help you. I mean, that technology makes that possible.
On the East Coast, so let me tell you, 6 a.m. appointments are a little rough, but it's okay. I'll do it. Yeah.
The time difference is a little rough, but we can normally, make something work out.
Yeah. So
I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. I'd love to follow up with you later down the road too, and see how that book's going. And because I just know you're going to touch and help change a lot of lives and help a lot of people that are struggling and feeling stuck. So.
I hope so. I really hope so. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
And then book number 2 is reeling in the head. So we'll see how that goes. We're still generating the title.
You never know where it's going to go, but yeah.
But it's coming. So thank you so much.
It is wonderful. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Next week, we have 2 more phenomenal guests. We have the reschedule of Brent the Businessman, which is a business advisor and coach, and Dr. Sherry Bainbridge. We finally got her rescheduled. So we have 2 of them coming up next week. I want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend. Please go out and make sure you do something to decompress, take care of yourself. And as Laurie mentioned, I have a YouTube channel that I'm growing with all these interviews. So if you want to find all these interviews in one place, please go to the YouTube channel, click and subscribe. The more we grow that, the more we can add and customize things. So anyway, I'm happy to have you here, Laurie. Thank you very much for spending some time with me this afternoon. And everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.